WFH with two guys. Now here's Benny and Dennis.
The idea of being a successful business owner is something that drove me tremendously when I started at my company. But as the company matured, I realized that there was a lot of obligations that within the area that I lived and worked every day that I really needed to pay some attention to. And I know, Dennis, for you, that you've probably done a lot of different things within your community as well.
There's some, I probably have not been as involved as I really would like to, but everyone has a niche or something that they can do in the community to give back. And it, the old saying, you give, if you give more, you'll get even more in return. And I think that's so key, that if people have in the mindset of giving, the amount that flows back is just double. And it's not only revenue or business, but it's just the relationships you develop and the connections and the people you get to know. And knowing that a lot of us work from home, finding those nonprofits or those boards that you can serve on can fill kind of a void that might have not been there before COVID. Also, I'm on the back end of my career as I look at retiring. Boards could be a great way for me to still stay involved without having to work 40 hours a week. So there's all kinds of different ways to look at this thing.
Sharing your experience and leadership and all the stuff that we've amassed over the decades of work and business and life experience is something that a lot of people don't really give much thought to. But we have Deb MacFarlan, who is with Leadership After Dark. And I think that this is really a very interesting conversation that I have to admit, I was not sure exactly how this whole program worked, but this was a conversation I truly enjoyed. And I really like listening to this one, and I like learning from Deb. But I think this is a conversation that you all will like too as well. So let's take a listen. Dennis, when I think about my company, it's really strictly a lot of times just it's purely business. How can I improve upon my products? How can I improve upon the things that will help drive more revenue, make my marketing better? But there's a lot more when it comes to business and our employees and the way that we're involved within the community that we exist today.
Exactly. And when I started Works 13 years ago, that was one of my big things, was that I wanted to be able to be more involved in the community and not just be working 8 to 5. Because back then my kids were in marching band and sports, and I was PTO president and band booster president and all those different things at the high school level. And I actually found that to be fun and enjoyable, even though there were some headaches with it. It was that giving back to whatever part of the community you're involved in was so rewarding. And I wanted to make sure that I did that as we move forward.
As the company matures and grows, we have a responsibility to go beyond ourselves. And to really talk about this, Deb, I want to welcome you to coming on the podcast today. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, Benny, I'm so glad to be here. You guys are amazing.
Well, we think the same about you, and we really wanted to kind of dig into this idea here. The idea of, as company drivers, managers, owners, it's more than just the mission that we can maybe start out the company with, of just turning widgets or doing our particular mission. We have other things that we should be thinking about when it comes to the way that we touch the community.
Yeah, well, we all have a responsibility, right? If we find ourselves enjoying building a business in a community, every community is going to have some needs. And so it's kind of our responsibility to figure out how we can lean in. One way to do that is by understanding that nonprofits have board of directors and are looking for professionals who can come in on the board and lean in with their expertise and experience, and perhaps their resources and their connections and network, to help the operations improve so they can serve more, either people or puppies or plant more trees, whatever it is they're trying to do to make the world better.
Yeah, because if you look at a lot of the boards, and I've been on several, it's usually people that are passionate about that effort. Or I was on a hemophilia one, and it was more of a neighbor had 2 children that were hemophilia. And most of the board they got into their part, but they didn't really understand some of the ways to operate a business to be more effective. And they were doing the same thing over and over and not having great success at times. And I think, Deb, to your point, that's where business owners, employees of other companies can give back to these nonprofits and help the community, and also at the same time do a lot for themselves personally and their business probably.
Totally agree. If you made a chart with, here's what a nonprofit does and here's what a for-profit does, there's no difference, save for that particular line item called sales and revenue. So it's either for-profit, it's sales, and for nonprofits, it's usually donations, gifts, grants. Other than that, people have payrolls, they have HR concerns, they have facility concerns, and they are delivering a product, service, or program. So it's really is the same, save for this nomenclature that we agreed upon for tax relief purposes. So think about it, Dennis. If folks have a particular expertise in, let's just say, marketing, and they know they're interested in rescue dogs, and they get on a particular board that has to do with that kind of sector, they can lean in with all that they know to make that stronger, raise the brand awareness, understand what an event can do, the potential for that. You do two things in that. You help that organization, of course, but you also raise your brand reputation as a brand, a company, a people, a culture who are interested in serving the community.
Yeah, I mean, and you think, there lots of big businesses do it. I mean, there's certain, I used to work at 7-Eleven, and you knew that 7-Eleven and Jerry Lewis went together on the telethon. That was just part of the culture there. And then, but as smaller business, you can do the same thing, in your community and find that niche. I mean, I'm here in Franklin, Tennessee, and they have, I'm going to say, one of the best Christmas parades in the country. And I happened to be in charge of that Christmas parade for 4 years. I didn't do it because I was trying to raise my brand awareness. I did it because I wanted to give back to the community, and it was so powerful of what it did and how it helped the community and helped schools and all that kind of stuff be able to showcase what they could do. But then in return, you got to meet people and develop relationships. And, Benny and I are both work from home people. It was my chance to get out and connect and touch with other people, where before everything was always video or phone calls. This was, I'm actually working in a room with people and doing stuff but at the same time, having fun. So
yeah, I got to say that parade helped to put Franklin, Tennessee on the map. So thank you for that. You're right. It is a way for, particularly as we have this new workforce kind of dynamic, folks who are working 60 hours a day to make sure that their startup or their under 5-year business takes off. It is a way to release creativity, passion, compassion, empathy, exercise your expertise and experience to make things better. What we know is there are just under 10,000 in this Middle Tennessee area, Dennis, under 10,000 nonprofit social impact organizations. That's a lot, right?
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And it means they go all the way from huge ones, right? So like the United Way or the YMCA, which are international, right? But they also are small ones. So we see at Leadership After Dark, which is a training program that helps folks who want to serve on boards serve effectively from day one. We kind of put it into 3 lanes. There's the startup. So that would be something that folks who understand what it takes to be a startup might really love to lean in. Then the 5+, those are the folks that go over that hurdle, like, okay, now we're real. Oh my gosh, now we have, payroll, and we have insurance and maybe 401ks to fund, et cetera. And we're thinking a bit about growth, but we're really trying to understand if our model is viable and sustainable. And then we have legacies. And the legacies are the ones that really are looking at growth, replication, maybe going into another state or another community within the state they already serve. And so there's plenty of areas, right? Whatever your expertise is, you may really love to be in a nonprofit board that's 20 years old. Awesome. We'll get you ready for that.
And you talked about Leadership After Dark. I mean, I love that name because it's like, hey, I do it during the day. I'm assuming I'm able to bring a lot of my talents to After Dark, but there's some things I have to do maybe a little different in a nonprofit that I do in a business. And I'm a board member. I'm not the doer of all, and that was one of the big things I saw on a board I served on, that the board was trying to be also the task people. And I'm like, a board really needs to be kind of that guidance and visionary. There need to be other people doing the task and bringing it to life, because the board you're probably not working it full time. It's a part-time gig that you're doing as a board member.
Yeah, so what the training does is kind of unpack that, and also says, look, we believe at Leadership After Dark that every board seat is priceless. So kind of rest up. We're going to give you some intensive training. So it's kind of soup to nuts, right? So here's the structure of what it's going to look like, but all the way down to, and you'll know these forms, Dennis, the 990 form, what bylaws are supposed to look like. We also help people do a personal matrix that helps them find their fit. Where do they want to serve? In the training, we actually have the cohort build a board based on a case study we give them, so they can kind of see how it can become maybe lopsided one way or another, but get them ready for what the next few years are coming, might happen for the nonprofit. We also look at strategic plans. So you're exactly right. It is advisory, absolutely advisory, but there are certain responsibilities that are fiduciary, that are required of the state that the nonprofit is located in. And the more people know that, Dennis, before they hit the seat, right, that they've been given the privilege to sit on, the higher their impact is from day one.
Well, I could see this being really good for especially a nonprofit that maybe has a new director, because a lot of times that new director is coming in and that board may not be really a strong functioning board in the first place, potentially. I've seen it a couple times. And so it's a chance to kind of help get everybody level setted, knowing it's like a quarterback or a football team, knowing what positions you're playing, how you're going to do it, be more effective, and have the tools to kind of take it to the next level.
Right. So there's a couple little lanes that Leadership After Dark can be in. So in a corporation that's a large corporation, we can build a cohort internally, right? For small to mid-size, we can create a community cohort where they might be even be able to bring in some of their clients. So those clients will be served. Capstar, a division of Old National Bank, just did that for our inaugural cohort, and it was really successful to the point where everybody was saying, when's the next one? But also going in and helping with board management in a nonprofit organization, which is what you're describing. We are finding, and Dennis, I know you know this, no matter the maturation level of the organization, boards can use this kind of training.
This is interesting to me because a number of years ago here in Colorado, I served on a board, and I was asked, just simply because I had a little bit of experience in technology, a little bit of experience in actually running a retail location. And it occurred to me that was the reason I was on the board, which was fantastic. That's what my expertise was. And I kind of sat back because this was the first board that I ever served on. I didn't understand that they really needed me to step up on issues that I had expertise in. And things that seemed blatantly obvious to me were very clueless, especially when it came to technology and how to negotiate a lease and all this type of stuff. And as you and Dennis were talking, I had a little flashback about that and really getting the most out of it. And this is something that I think we certainly could have used 10 years ago when I was on that board. And I see the value of what you're putting together. Deb, it also occurs to me that if a company gets involved and puts programs like this together, you're going to attract a different type of talent than somebody who maybe just is coming on to be the CFO of your company, or just because they can run this particular area in project management. If you as a company have that ability to have the outreach and working within other companies, there's a lot of value in that, I would guess.
Yeah. I think if I'm understanding what you're saying, Betty, I think, are you speaking about who gets chosen for boards or how we work with companies?
Well, I think actually both, right? In terms of just developing yourself as an individual, but also being able to, if I'm thinking about taking a job and I'm looking at a couple different companies and I hear your company is doing something that's unique and being involved in the community that I live in, okay, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. So let's think about a triangle. I'm also looking at your sweatshirt, but let's think about a triangle, right? We know from research that Zers are rabid about having impact. We also know that there could be boomers who are either being voluntold or kind of moving out of the workforce, and they may, because they've been back of the house people, they may not have served on a board, and all the generations in between, right? So on one side of the triangle is the individual. Professional development that talks about work-life balance and shows you how to be a civic leader is rare nowadays, but is a hallmark when people are looking on a website to check out if they want to work for you. The company benefits from this because in our work at Leadership After Dark, we actually will take the culture, core values, mission, vision of that company and inculcate it into the curriculum so that it's X Work Solutions civic leadership and brought to you by Leadership After Dark. The community absolutely benefits from now a reputation from a particular company that says you guys matter and we're going to put dollars behind it and bring in a terrific training program that now builds a core. So when one of you all comes to us and says, hey, can you help us sponsor this event? I now have an internal core, or I have people from a community cohort I can lean on just to get a sense about the organization. Is it well run? What's the ROI, et cetera? Just what you would normally ask. But if you're new to the community and you're building a company and you've been asked to sponsor something because it's great for your brand, you want to be really select. Your dollars are really hard earned when you're just starting out. And you want to make sure you're placing your brand beside a really well recognized and has a good reputation nonprofit.
This is power, and our title, like I said, is working from home. I just think it's such a great way for people that are working hybrid and that maybe haven't been on a board. And Deb, speak to that, because a lot of people think you have to be well seasoned and older to be on a board. And
thanks, Dennis. Yeah, no, you're totally. So here's the cool thing about Leadership After Dark. We absolutely blow that apart, right? So in the first cohort, we had folks who were very new to the workforce and folks who were more seasoned. And that collaboration, first of all, everybody felt comfortable. Not knowing what you're supposed to do was kind of the ticket to come in, right? I think you're right that we seem to think serving on a board or civic leadership happens when you have time. What we're saying is those board seats are priceless. Your expertise and experience is just what they need. So Don't wait. And don't wait to speak up. We'll get you ready. So day one, and I will tell you from our inaugural cohort, we had a gentleman who went to his first board meeting and spoke up to the point where the chair called and said, what did you guys do? Like, this was the best meeting we've had. Somebody actually didn't wait, had some really good questions, knew what they were looking at. We take folks through an actual board meeting during the training. They receive the packaged material. They know what they need to look at. They know what they're responsible for. And it's one of those things, look, guys, you don't have to be a financial wizard to understand what a P&L and what the financials are, but you need to be aware and you need to prepare for your meeting, not just show up and go, oh, wow, how's everybody doing? Oh, this packet? Hang on just a second. Let me just look through it.
Well, I'm assuming what you train for that part can also apply back to business, because there's lots of people that have really bad business meetings and, waste a lot of people's time in, hey, how's everybody doing type of thing versus, hey, let's make this thing productive. And if it only needs to be a 20-minute meeting, let's make it a 20-minute meeting, not a 50-minute meeting just because we scheduled it.
Love that. Love that. And I think to the importance of this training, we also bring in panels of chairs on boards, but also nonprofit leaders, some who are founders, some who have been in the business for a while at a variety of different organizations. And that is very powerful. I would say that for the inaugural cohort, that panel could have stayed a couple hours because we've fed them information and we're there to field, right? We've had decades of experience, but when you're talking to folks who are like in it, it's so much fun to hear those questions coming from the participants. So we supply that as well. Also a network, so they can go and introduce themselves to a nonprofit they might be interested in. And we keep aware of what seats may be opening in the different nonprofits to make those introductions.
So Deb, let's kind of talk about what ends up happening kind of in the long run. For the benefits that you've seen from organizations maybe that have thought about doing this and playing around, what do you see? Let's call, throw yourself 3, 4, 5 years down the road. What are some of the benefits and the nice things that you've seen coming from by getting involved in the community and having this extra part of the company, if you will?
Yeah, so let me get back to the triangle. So I think for the individual, you understand that a lot of like-minded people who want to make the world better are out there. So you make new friends, you have new experiences, and you're open. Your world just gets bigger. It also means that if you start on a local board, you may soon, as I have, served on an international board. Great experience. The company's brand in terms of social responsibility and the wellness of the community just increases. The community gets better because now you've got a core of people that can flood the community and serve on these nonprofit boards, which makes every nonprofit stronger in the delivery of their mission to serve more of those who serve.
Well, Dad, this is really, I love this conversation. I think there's so much more, and we're going to need to have you come back. But I know that our audience definitely will have some questions that we couldn't cover on today's podcast. What's the best way for anyone listening to be able to get a hold of you?
Benny, thank you so much. This has been such a great opportunity to talk with 2 other community leaders. I appreciate it. Just go to our website. It's all one word, leadershipafterdark.com, and you'll find our contact information. I have the great honor of co-founding it with an outstanding community leader, Ellen Jansen, and either one of us can answer any questions. We'd love to answer more questions and get more people involved.
I think you've definitely opened up a lot of people's eyes and ears. For me, I'll be the first to, Dennis had said, we need to have you on here. And I said, okay, I'm not sure I understand, but now I do. I totally get it. And so this is fantastic. Deb, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. We'll have you come back here again, okay?
I can't wait. Thank you so much, guys.
Deb, thanks so much.
Well, Dennis, that's another podcast in the can. I know that a lot of you all want to know how to get in touch with us. Dennis, what's the best way for folks to be able to get a hold of you?
Yeah, email's by far the best for me. It's Dennis J, so DENNISJ @worksolution.com, and that's WORX solution, no S at the end, so solution.com. Benny, how about you?
Yeah, same thing. Get a hold of me. My email address is benny@velocitytechnology.group. That's BENNY @velocitytechnology.group. Also for me and Dennis, you can find us on LinkedIn. Look for us on LinkedIn. Our Work From Home with 2 Guys is on LinkedIn. And we also have a website, WFH2guys.com. Look us up. You'll find all the past episodes and some little bits of information that maybe we don't get a chance to talk to on the podcast. We put it out there too as well.
And definitely share us with your friends and people in your network.
Absolutely. Let us know what we can do to make this podcast your podcast. Give us some ideas. If you'd like to be a guest, let us know. We'll talk to you guys soon.
You've been listening to WFH with 2 Guys. We'll see you next time.